Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
2 weeks ago, I stood before you and I gave a sermon about Commencement Day. It is a day when students stand in a hall, in an arena or stadium, in front of their mentors, peers, family, friends, and loved ones, to receive a certificate, a document that acknowledges their years of hard work and their years of study. That day of commencement, it serves as a milestone in everyone's life, and it is the source of joy for no one more than the parents of that child themselves. It is a day that indicates the beginning of one's journey into real life, so to speak. Time to put that education to work, time to earn a living, time to get established, time to start being financially responsible. It is a milestone which is a time for them to start getting serious and thinking through things. The time about thinking to settle down and starting a family, subhanallah. This is the cycle of life. You know, we are talking about the youth in our community who are graduating, but how many of us that are sitting here who are parents, who are seasoned or seniors, who remember that same very period of their lives? When we were in our prime, working hard, thinking about settling down, nervous and anxious about the future, coming to America. What is going to happen? Subhanallah. Now many of those same people are in a position where they're thinking the same thing about their own children, about their education. They are worried about them settling down and their children getting married. Or they might be playing around with their grandchildren. But brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, ammos and khaltis, uncles and aunties, the true harsh fact of the matter is that one day our contribution to this cycle of life will end. Then what? Then there will be the real day of commencement, when again people will be standing not in a hall, not in an arena or a stadium, but they will be in the biggest field mankind will ever witness. A field that will accommodate each and every single human being born from the beginning of time till the day of judgment that has walked the face of this earth, and double that by the jinn kind. A person on that day will also be amidst their family and the people they know, waiting to receive something that will also acknowledge their years of work and their years of struggle. Now, what a person will receive on that day and how they will receive it will reflect what they have done and what they have achieved. And at this point, it will not be the time to start thinking serious about life. It will not be the time to start being responsible. It will not be the time to start realizing what we should do. No. On that day, at that point, it will be too late to think about anything, and we will only reap what we have sown. And one of the names that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has coined for this day is Yawmut Taghabun, the day of gain and loss. The day of gain for some and the day of loss for some. Just like in business. You know, some businesses, they make more than others. And even within the businesses themselves, they have good days and bad days. Dia malo, dia bueno. But an intelligent businessman, is a person who thinks about plan B, who thinks things through, who studies and analyzes the markets, who can anticipate and get a feeling of when is the best time to make adjustments and what those adjustments will be. When to advertise, when to hold on to that budget. Especially if there is a peak season, if there is a boost in traffic, a wise and successful businessman, he thinks all of these aspects through. People that are sitting here who are in the transportation industry, you know when things will be busy. You keep up with when conventions will be in and out of town, and you prepare for that in advance. You make sure that your vehicle, or whatever your mode of transport is well serviced and ready to roll. People on the retail side of things, they know when tourists flock into town. They know when they should stock up and pile up, and when they should keep the inventory light and low. People with gas stations are constantly making adjustments to what's in their shelves and getting rid of things that sit around for too long. A successful business and a successful businessman does not wait for the customer to come through the door to make adjustments. He does not wait for customers to bust through the door to start stocking up. Because turning away a customer and that customer ending up at someone else's door is a huge loss for any business. Now, you might be thinking, well, I don't have a business, so this doesn't apply to me. Even people who are not in business, we need to know when it is not a good time to buy a car. We need to know when it is not a good time to get into the housing market. And when is the best time to invest in the stock market. But brothers and sisters, everything that I shared with you right now as far as business and the transportation industry and deals, all of these things are limited to what you will stand to lose and gain in this world. What about al-akhirah, the life of the hereafter? What about al-yawm al-akhir, the day of the hereafter, the next day? What about as-sa'a, the hour, the real commencement day? Shouldn't we think that through as well? Shouldn't we take that serious as well? Shouldn't we plan for that as well? And shouldn't we invest in that as well? Shouldn't we stock up for that day, for that hour, for that life as well? Of course we should. And the inventory and the stockpile that I'm talking about is nothing that is tangible. They are good deeds. And moving on into the topic, when are good deeds worth the most? When are they rewarded the most? When do they pay off the most? And when are they the easiest to obtain? When are good deeds? When is the best time of the year to profit and gain from good deed? The answer to each and every single one of these questions, brothers and sisters, is the month of Ramadan. The most blessed and sacred month of the year. The month of Ramadan is a peak time, a peak season for ajr and rewards. It is a time not just to do business, it is a time to loot from the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on top of the peak season, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept our competition and our competitors sanctioned. And Allah has helped us to tame our nafs through fasting so that we can reap the most possible from the month of Ramadan. Subhanallah, ever since the beginning of the year, the epicenter of my khutbahs, majority of them have been the book of deeds. The angel on the right, the angel on the left, the writing, the editing, the deleting. The month of Ramadan is the month to start covering chapter after chapter. It is the time to stockpile. It is the time to invest. Heck, if you tell Jim Cramer about the virtues of Ramadan, you know what he's going to say? He's going to say Ramadan is a buy, buy, buy. Because it is so virtuous. But brothers and sisters, let's be real for a second. We live in the real world. This hall is on planet Earth, in Kenner, 70062. We live in the real world. Let's think to ourselves, what do we need in order to invest in the real world? What do we need? Capital, cash, moolah, money, right? Dineros or dinaros, whatever you want to call it. We need capital. In order to invest, you need the means, you need the capacity. And in the real world, to truly be on top of your game, your capital needs to be ready at a moment's notice. You need to hit the ground running if you want to make the most profit. If you start saving up money after the opportunity to invest has started, then you are losing ground very quickly. And this is the fact of the matter. Brothers and sisters, as we are sitting here today, we have officially entered the month preceding the month of Ramadan known as Sha'ban. The moon was sighted in various locations in South America and in Texas. We had a rainy day. We have officially entered the month preceding the month of Ramadan, which is Sha'ban. Or as once a friend told me, he called it Shab'an. It is the month, Shab'an in Arabic means when you eat so much that you're full. It's the month of Shab'an. It's the month to stock up and eat and get ready to fast and not eat. So the month of Sha'ban, it means something. It tells us something. The month of Sha'ban means that we are not too far away from the blessed month of Ramadan. It means we need to start preparing for the month of Ramadan. It means that we need to start planning, thinking, and getting to the drawing board. And drawing board, not the menu board. You know, this time of the year right now, this month before Ramadan, and the weeks leading into Ramadan is the time when many households, they start doing their shopping and chopping and ziplocking and freezing. That is one aspect as well. But I'm talking about the real prep work. The real shopping, chopping, ziplocking, and freezing. I'm talking about getting together our capital. Getting our capital ready to go at a moon sightings notice. And that capital is our capacity, our motivation, and our drive to do good deeds. And this is a wise Muslim. A wise Muslim is a person who can get their act together before the month of Ramadan, so that when the month of Ramadan starts, he or she can hit the ground running. And the fact of the matter is that our spirituality and our soul, the level of our iman, it fluctuates. We all have our ups and downs. There are moments in our life where we feel closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than others. And the month of Ramadan, this whole month, it serves as a boost to our iman. It serves as a jolt to our a'mal to help us get through the rest of the year. Now I want to share something with you. In 12 days, the FIFA World Cup will be starting. Now, if you don't know about that, then you're probably not into soccer, which is called football in the rest of the world except here. Now, do you think their players are resting themselves and chilling out and eating whatever they want and however much they want? No. They are waking up early in the mornings, training, running, studying their opponent. And you better believe they are. Why? Because coming June 12th, they will be in the spotlight, in front of the whole world, working hard, sweating, running around, and competing to see who comes on top. Likewise, brothers and sisters, in about a month, we will all be in the spotlight, in the spot nur, if you will. A time of the year that the whole world waits 11 months for. The Super Bowl of deeds. The World Cup of rewards. We should not wait till the last minute to get into gear. We should not wait till the last minute to find our Quran. We should not wait till the last minute to brush up on our tilawah, to polish up on our recitation of the Quran. We need to prepare now. We need to train now. We need to get in the groove now. And not just us. Our wives, our wife, our families, all our loved ones need to start getting into the groove from now. And not just by shopping, chopping, and ziplocking, but by praying, reading, and fasting as well. I'll share with you one hadith recorded in An-Nasa'i that I quoted in the beginning of the khutbah. The Prophet ﷺ, before I quote the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he would offer optional fasts. And he was pretty consistent with them on Mondays, on Thursdays, and on the mid 3 days of every Islamic month. He would fast these consistently, along with other days, other virtuous days throughout the year. But these particular days, he would fast consistently. Usama ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu, he's a particular Sahabi. He noticed that whenever the month of Sha'ban came around, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would fast pretty much most of it. So he noticed this, and he asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he became curious, and he asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that I don't see you fasting in any other month in such abundance that you do in the month of Sha'ban. Why is this? He was curious. He wanted to know. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he replied by saying that this month that I am fasting, it is a month that people overlook. It is a month that people do not pay much attention to. They overlook. A month that comes between Rajab and Ramadan, which is the month of Sha'ban. And he explains, it is a month in which deeds are presented. They ascend and they are presented to the Lord of the universe. And I would love for myself to be fasting when my deeds are presented before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would get into the habit of fasting. Not that he wasn't already in the habit, but to educate his ummah. The Prophet ﷺ said that people are neglectful of this month. When did he say this? Back then. The Prophet ﷺ would fast this month in abundance because, as inshallah in the weeks to come and in Ramadan when I start touching the topic of fasting, fasting is not just about staying hungry. There is a whole development of the soul, of the spirit. It is a spiritual makeover that you need to be ready for before the month of Ramadan starts. You need to have that whole 30 days of full spiritual development instead of getting into the month of Ramadan and the first week you're going through headaches and stomach growling and taking 14 days just to get used to it and getting into the groove of it. The Prophet ﷺ would start fasting in abundance from beforehand. So likewise, brothers and sisters, the month of Ramadan is indeed a blessed month for us to get ourselves prepared and ready in. But we need, for our spiritual development, but we need to get ourselves mentally, spiritually, and physically prepared for the training and the discipline that the month of Ramadan has to offer. Not just in means of fasting, but in means of reciting the Quran, in means of getting our prayers back on track. Because every opportunity that is lost in Ramadan is a huge loss in Ramadan. Every opportunity that goes by is a huge loss in the month of Ramadan. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow each and every single one of us to start getting into the groove and start getting ourselves and our families ready to welcome and do the istiqbal of the blessed month of Ramadan. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه